Always live and always wild. Hi everyone and welcome to the Africam show. We're starting off with something very, very special. It's the Varro's or black eagle nest right here, and we think that they have a chick, or we know that they have a chick, and we think it might have hatched yesterday. This is so cool. This is one of the reasons I absolutely love the fact that we have these static cameras that can just focus on one species or one area in most cases, but here we have not just a specific species that we can focus on, but a specific story of these particular individuals. So this, look, it looks like it's looking at me. Hello. I think this might be the female, the mother of the chick. Of course, it has no idea that I'm speaking, or, I mean, probably has an idea that there's something metal around, as in the camera, but has no idea that I'm speaking, so something else piqued its interest there. But anyway, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome aboard, and remember that we're live and interactive, so you can send through your questions and your comments. I love to hear from all of you. Love to have some awesome discussions, and of course I love spending time with wildlife and with all of you from the comfort of my very, very chilly home today. I am in Cape Town in South Africa, and it is very chilly. It's probably not that warm where these black eagles are either. Oh, we've got a couple hellos coming through. Jirel, you say, hello Trish, you're waiting patiently with your cup of Java for your Tuesday date with Africam. I love that. Another stellar informative session with smiling. I'm so glad. Jirel, now you know that I love to hear if you're smiling or not. And that comes from to all of you, actually. I'd love to know if you're smiling, if you're having a bad day, maybe. But by the end of this, you should be smiling. With me, I might add. Suki V from the UK, you say hello to all. A sunny 23 degrees summer's day in the UK, and you're ready for animal and camera action. Well, we are ready too. Starting off with these black eagles, I think, is wonderful. And before we move on from them, we're going to chat a little bit more about the chick development, just so we know what to look out for before we move on to any of the other cams. So I know we can't see the chick right now, but hopefully we will be able to. Jasmine 57, you say, woohoo, hi Trish, hi Jasmine. And then Dia NC, you say, good morning Trish, you're ready with your coffee in sunny Seattle. Oh, so nice to hear all about what you have, the drink you have. Today I've got some water and of course the weather, nice and sunny. It's sunny here in Cape Town as well, although it's freezing. Well, freezing for me, it's like 14 degrees Celsius. Crazy freezing if you ask me. Anyway, like I said, let's chat a little bit about what we can expect over the next few days, actually a few weeks, few months. This chick is brand new. Now, I'm not sure how many eggs this pair has had in their clutch this time round. Usually they will lay 1 to 2 eggs. And unfortunately, siblicide is quite a prominent feature of the life history of black eagles. And only about 1% of the second chick would actually survive. So 99% of the time, siblicide takes over and the dominant chick, which would be the one that hatches first, kills its mate, its clutch mate. And it's actually quite an interesting thing because they seem to do that regardless of the food availability and attention from the adults. That doesn't seem to play a role. So that tells me that there is an evolutionary advantage to only having one chick. And if you think about it, if you only have one chick, it means it can create an environment where that chick's survival is the primary responsibility. So the thing that's most important is a single chick's survival. Essentially, if you have 2 chicks, you're dividing that. You're dividing the amount of food, you're dividing the amount of time and protection from the parents. And so it must be something that has crept in from an evolutionary perspective over millennia and is obviously an advantage. But still, there's that 1% that will have a a second chick that will survive. Anyway, that's a bit grim. Moving on. So this chick has hatched yesterday, and we know that they hatch with their little egg tooth, which I love. I love the egg tooth. If you're not sure what that is, it's a little tooth at the end of the beak that birds are born with. Not only birds, but reptiles as well. You see it in turtles, you see it in snakes, in lizards. It seems to be something that's a remnant from a very, very, very long time ago. And that's what they use to emerge from their egg. And then once they do, they are very cute and covered in some nice soft down, which is something we see in almost all eggs, almost all chicks, of course. So what we're going to be looking for, so when they're newly hatched, the down is white, so it's very easy to see. But what we actually need to see is the chick kind of pick itself up a little bit. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen for quite some time, for a couple of weeks. At the moment, if we could actually look down into this nest, the chick would kind of be flat. It's not able to move very much, and it's not strong enough to be able to pick itself up beyond just like the lip of this nest for us to see it. But it's going to be covered in white down. It's going to have like dark brownish eyes, but it's still going to have the yellowy bits around the eye. So that's just something to look out for. And then about a month old, you'll start to see the primary feathers start to emerge. And then about a week later, you're going to get those contour feathers and the tail feathers. And then by about 7 weeks old, you're going to get most of the feathers covering the body, and it's going to actually have some of that mottled brown color, which is the color that the juveniles usually have. And that juvenile plumage is reached by about 13 weeks old. So there's a lot going on, and if you think about the development of this chick, a lot is happening in a short space of time. I think oftentimes we kind of think in the mode of mammal. And maybe that's because we're mammals as well, but mammals seem to be on the forefront of our understanding of what's happening around us and other animals. But when you think about the amount of development that happens in just these few weeks, it's actually crazy. And this is a big animal. This is a big bird rather, the rose eagle. It's the biggest eagle that we have in southern Africa, or at least the one that is one of the biggest eagles, rather, I should say. And so that means that larger the animal, generally speaking, the longer it takes to develop. So that's a lot of accelerated development. And then by about 3 months old, it's going to fledge, and then by 4 months old, it's going to be chased out of its parents' territory. So there we go. That's what the chick has to look forward to in the next 4 months or so. But right now, we can focus on its cuteness, and we can wait for that moment that it picks up its head, so we can all see. I love young birds because they look kind of, I think vulnerable is the good word, but the child inside of me wants to say something along the lines of cute and helpless, poor things. Bob from Kalamazoo, you say, good day, my friend Trishala, you're ready to learn. Well, Bob from Kalamazoo, I'll tell you, you are my friend too. Yes, you are. Trainer at 51, you say, good morning from North Carolina, USA. NY girl, you'd like to know, how cold is it? Well, I can tell you that here in Cape Town, it's about 14 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what the temperature is up in Gauteng province, which is where this birdie is, but it's probably just a few degrees warmer than it is here in Cape Town. I would say about 18 or 19 degrees Celsius. Jan Powers, you say, hi Trish, also from hot Arizona. Everyone has this wonderful warm weather. Next City, you say hello to everybody. Rolling Trouble, you say it will be fun to watch. It will. It will be so fun to watch. And this is not the first clutch we've watched of this particular pair. We've watched several clutches over the years, and I love this because we get to have a sort of a personal connection with what's going on. Obviously, these animals don't understand that and don't know that we have a personal connection. We're kind of big brothering it, watching from the cameras. But for us, that's really important, because if you have a personal connection with whatever animal, with whatever environment, you are inevitably going to be more focused on protecting it. It's conservation and protecting a particular environment or species is a byproduct of developing a relationship and empathy towards that species or that individual. Rolling Trouble, you say you can't wait to see the little floofy head. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Jasmine57, you'd like to know, do all birds commit siblicide? No. It's most often seen in raptors, so large predatory birds. So in smaller birds, like finches and starlings, things like that, but basically any other smaller bird, any bird that's not considered a raptor, you don't really see siblicide. That's how you get clutches, nests full of eggs. For example, I'm sure you may have seen maybe some geese or ducks with their ducklings and their goslings, and you'll see there's many of them. So siblicide is not common, it's not something we can say about all birds, it's something that's most often seen in predatory birds or in raptors. Oh, yay, we've moved on to Tao. And we have some elephants coming down for a drink. Gosh, I was so wrapped up in bird talk there for a minute, I actually forgot that we had other cameras that we can go and visit. Just to tie up a last question there, or a last comment there on the Black Eagles, Next to these said it sounds like the Hyraxes are going to be getting less camera time starting soon. Well, I guess that depends on whether they're alive or not, particularly at the Black Eagle camp. But we remember that we can still see them at the Stony Point Penguin camp. If you're wondering what that clicking is, it's the electric fence. That's quite close to the camera, so that's the clicking. I only noticed it the other day myself. Lisa Hoffman, you say yay. Well, we're going to say yay with you. You say it's the first time you're watching live, and you say hello from Portland, Oregon. Hello, Lisa Hoffman. Welcome aboard. We are so glad that you had the space and time and maybe the memory, to remember to actually log on and come and join us for the Africam show. Welcome aboard and thank you. Nambico, you say happy Tuesday to all. You're excited to be here again. Well, you're all making me excited. And Tris Visop, you say hello everybody. You're happy to be just a little bit late. Better late than never, as they say. And perfect timing, I might add, because there's nothing, I think, better than sitting and watching some elephants having a bit of a drink. I always find this an interesting angle because the elephants, you can see the edges of this waterhole are rounded, but also quite high. So the elephants can't really walk closer. So what ends up happening is that they have to stretch their trunks out. But this is a great example for us to see how much they can stretch their trunks out. So their trunks can extend and contract with a lot of ease. It's very muscular, depending on your definition of a muscle. whether you're defining every separate segment or whether you're holding them as as a group of muscles. Can be anything from 50,000 to 150,000 different muscles. Again, that depends on the definition. And so there's so much control in that trunk. So much control that allows them to stretch it out and also contract it in. You also are able to see it when, especially big bulls, as they're walking along. Sometimes they want to drop their trunk on the ground. Sometimes they pick it up. A lot of control and a lot of muscles to facilitate that. Oh, hello, little baby. You don't have a whole lot of practice just now, but you do have all those muscles, and they're going to work. This is a very good baby, I might add. I guess when you're drinking out of a water hole like this, you got to learn quickly. This little youngster, this calf, at about this age, it's still pretty little. I'd say it's about a year old, maybe a little bit more. Oftentimes, you'll see them, just for ease, kind of putting their whole mouths in. So they can't really suck up with enough control like the adults can to have a drink. So instead, they just plop their whole mouths in. But this little one has excellent control over its trunk and is able to be just like the adults, even though it's going to get kind of right to the edge. Too sweet. It takes a baby elephant about a year to fully control its trunk. When I say fully control it, I mean in the sense that, you know, it could take you a year to play a sport really well, but it takes you several years to perfect your control of a racket or a bat. And so in the same sense, an elephant that is a year old has got the basics down and is able to use its trunk in the same way that adults can, fundamentally. But it still takes them a couple years to really get that down, maybe another year to kind of perfect it. But usually we consider about a year old as the time when elephant calves will be able to use its trunk functionally like an adult. Lisa Hoffman, you said exactly what I said. You said, oh, a baby. Yes, indeed. Durrell, you say the riverbank looks too steep for the baby. If the baby slipped into the river, would the adults be able to get the baby back on shore? It looks dangerous now that the level is low. So here at Tau, this is quite a large waterhole. So there isn't it's not a river, so nothing's going to happen to the baby if it slips in terms of like not being able to fight currents and things like that. But I understand what you're saying in that the water level has gotten lower and the bank looks quite high for the little one. But it is perfectly fine. If anything, it would actually help it to get more practice with its trunk, you know, extending it, so contracting it and extending it, using it as opposed to using its mouth. Just like human babies, if you're put in a position where a necessity needs you to be better at something, then it will develop quicker in that vein. And that's probably what's happened here. Now, if this little one does fall into the water, there would be a massive commotion. All the adults will start screaming, the little baby will start flailing, and then the adults will help it out. When was it? It was not very long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, there was a clip like that that we had seen. I think it was during the Wild Moments show on Thursday. And there was a little one that slipped in. And it happens. But the adults are always hyper aware of what their calves are doing. And that's not just the mother of the calf. The entire herd will be hyper aware of the movements of the calf in any kind of distress, and they will be there to help it. Now, if you're thinking about crocodiles, because we know that there are at least 3 crocodiles here at Tal, sure, they could be a threat, and the elephants are going to be nervous about that, but ultimately, a young calf in the water with several sub-adults and adults around, a croc, unless it's really desperate, is not going to have a go at it. Elephants ultimately have no natural predators that are a result of their life history and their evolution. The only predators that could go for them and do go for them are those that are opportunistic, so only when the situation or the opportunity arises. But otherwise, not. Tris Vissop, you're commenting on the light here at Tal. The Ellies look amazing. Yeah, the sun is definitely setting earlier and earlier, which means that golden hour is coming through a little bit quicker. Mr. Wild, UAE 87, you say, great to see an ostrich at Tal today. That's wonderful. So cool to see ostriches out and about as well. Oh, we've got a lovely game drive vehicle enjoying the sights and sounds as well. And some Impala coming down. Got a heron. I think this might be a spoonbill. There's definitely a spoonbill there in the bottom right-hand corner. I think the one that's got its head tucked away into its wing might also be a spoonbill there. Ooh, the light is really pretty. Getting nice pinks and oranges coming through there. You can see the reflection on the water. Oh, this is really nice to see. So, as you may have already gathered, oh, we're looking at the crocs as well. I was about to talk about the Impala, what the crocs will do. And let me just take this thought on the Impala. So over the last, maybe 2 or 3 months, we've been talking about the rut and how crazy it is about the rut. And it's a wonderful time to be out in the bush because the sound and the sights and the behavior from the Impala are just fantastic. Sorry, I just paused there because I'm surprised at how close these Impala are feeding to the crocodile. If you look at the eyes of the crocodile, can you see that they're quite, the eyelid is quite low. So it's in a resting state. But they're ambush predators. And right now, they haven't had to do too much work to get a potential prey item very close to it. But I guess when you're sleepy, you're sleepy. What else can you do? With these Impala that we've been watching, you can still see it there at the top. It's a bachelor herd and a mixed age bachelor herd. Now this is something that we see once the rut starts to wane, which is exactly where we are right now. The majority of ewes, which are female Impalas, would have already been impregnated. Those very defined herd structures during the rut, so herds of females and one territorial male, that's all stopped. Instead, they're back to their loose aggregations, their loose mixed herds, not too much definition in their herd structure. They're back to quote-unquote normal. And that's when we see bachelor herds like this. Mixed ages, some mature, some immature. Nobody's really fighting with each other. That testosterone, which would have skyrocketed when those day lengths start to get a little bit shorter, around autumn, that now basically subsided. Remember that the whole rut is triggered by hormonal responses. So everything's pretty calm and chilled now with the impala. Now this croc, I know, looks very shocked, but he is not shocked. He is just trying to regulate his body temperature. I say he, but I don't know. It's very difficult to tell the sex of a crocodile or any reptile at that if they don't show a lot of sexual dimorphism. But this looks like quite a chunky Nile crocodile. So that's why I automatically went to male, calling it a him. Now his eyes are far more alert than the one that we had on the left. See, it's open. He's got enough sensing happening to figure out what's happening around him and to figure out that there are potential prey around him. But obviously, that's not what these two crocodiles are interested in right now. Now his mouth is open in this way so that he could help cool himself down by cooling down the blood that's circulating around basically around his head. So you know when you yawn, I remember when we were growing up, the kind of explanation we were given for why we yawn is because we want to take in more oxygen. And while it's true that when you yawn, you are taking in more air, so there is an insignificant amount of extra oxygen coming through, what we have found out since then is that by yawning, you're pulling air up to cool your palate. So by pulling air in and cooling your palate, you are cooling the blood that's circulating around your brain. So that's going to help you to stay alert. So it's basically kind of telling you, you know what, you're overheating a little bit. That's very dramatic, I might add. But that you need to cool down just a little bit. That's why we yawn. It's actually to cool our palate and then to cool the blood around our brain. With a similar mechanism, in fact, Lisa Hoffman, you're asking, what about the croc with its mouth open? Is it sleeping? So as we were watching it, it closed its eyes. It's likely that it is now sleeping. And it would be sleeping with its mouth open because it's helping it to keep it nice and cool. So as I was explaining with the yawn, by a similar mechanism, the crocodile and many, many other reptiles and birds will cool down their blood by keeping their mouth open and then also fluttering their gula, which is a flesh of skin, or fleshy like kind of, bit of skin in the throat. That just increases surface area, increases the airflow, and allows for more evaporative cooling to happen so that they can cool the blood around the head. Jasmine57, you say you just love crocodiles. I'm so glad to hear that. I really am. TrainerMat51, you say, won't the crocs have a go at the impalas? They would if that's what they wanted to do. If they were more interested in keeping cool and being and resting, then that's what they would do. Generally speaking, animals take what they need. There will be times where predators will make more kills than they can eat at the time, but it's not something we see all the time. Just because a prey species walks past a predator doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be eaten. Rolling Trouble, you say crazy close. That was crazy close, especially for me. It's the head of the impala was so close to the crocodile. And if I were a crocodile, and I suppose also if I were hungry, then that would be a sweet meal for me. It's not like it was the back leg or something, it was the head. And also remember with ambush predators, so things like leopards and crocodiles, to an extent other cats as well, with ambush predators, if they don't feel like they are being concealed, then they may they may already think that their presence is known. And being ambush predators, they rely on being unseen until the last moment. So maybe that had something to do with it too. But honestly, I think that those crocodiles were not focusing on eating. Hunting was not their primary objective at this time. Instead, it was resting, maybe catching a bit of a nap. And the impalas did not care. All good. Nice bachelor herd. It's so wonderful to see them forming these loose groups again. I feel like everybody's friendly once again. Anyway, it was so lovely to spend this time with all of you. Thank you for your questions and your comments. It's such a valuable experience to ask whichever questions you like, and also for me to be able to talk about these things and help you be more interested and love the animals and the environment a little bit more, even though I know you all do anyway. I hope you are leaving with great big smiles, bigger than the ones you started with, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now, everyone.